Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is Alex Morales, and I am a Dean Student Ambassador at the UC Riverside School of Public Policy. I will be serving as the MC for today's webinar with our distinguished guest, Moreno Valley City Manager Mike Lee. This webinar is brought to you by the UCR School of Public Policy and its Dean's Brand Ambassadors. My peers and I are delighted to host this event and provide this service for the general community. Before we get started, I want to first go over the format for today's online seminar. We will devote the first half hour of today's event to a presentation by our guest speaker. We will then reserve the last half hour of today's event for an audience Q&A. For that Q&A, I have also invited a few of my public policy classmates to ask questions on camera directly to our guest. Audience members, if you have any questions you would like me to pose during the Q&A session, please do not send them via chat, but instead send them using the Q&A feature, which you can find at the bottom of your screens. You can submit your questions anytime throughout the event via the Q&A feature. You do not have to wait until the audience Q&A portion of today's event to send in your questions. Now at this point, it is my honor to introduce our guest speaker. As City Manager for the City of Moreno Valley, Mike Lee is responsible for the efficient management of all city business and operations. Moreno Valley is the second largest city in Riverside County, which makes managing the inner working of this agency and community a significant responsibility. City Manager Lee leads a workforce of more than 350 under the watchful eye of the City Council and the city's constituency of more than 217,000. He oversees 8 dynamic departments that span all aspects of the city's infrastructure, including finance, fire, media, personnel, police, recreation, development services, and public works. Much of City Manager Lee's career in local government has been focused on economic development. He has garnered a noteworthy reputation, a proven track record of transforming the economies of local cities in Southern California. He is regarded as one of the most respected economic development professionals in local government. City Manager Lee has experienced countless successes in his career, including a long list of accomplishments that began when he started his career in public sector in Pomona, California. In 1999, he joined the city of West Covina, where he served as Assistant City Manager and Community Development Commission Director. He then joined the city of Moreno Valley in 2015 as the Community and Economic Development Director. Under his direct leadership, over 21,000 new jobs were generated as a result of the city's economic development efforts. City Manager Lee's project won several prestigious recognitions, including 2 Helen Putnam Awards, the Phoenix Award, Cal Ed Awards, and an International City Manager Association Award. He recently received a Leadership in Public Service Award by the Inland Empire Economic Partnership. City Manager Lee is a distinguished graduate of Cal Poly Pomona with a bachelor's in urban and regional planning and a master's of public administration from the University of Laverne. He and his wife, Brenda, have 2 sons, Brian and Alex. City Manager Mike Lee, can I just say how delighted and honored we are to have you with us today. I will now hand it over to you for your presentation.
Great. Thank you, Alex, and thank you, the School of Public Policy, for the invitation. As I was mentioning earlier, I think this is one of my favorite part of my job, always having the opportunity to talk to students and future people in local government. And so I do have a PowerPoint presentation to talk about Moreno Valley and to let you know what's going on in our city. So let's start with the presentation. Next slide. So why Moreno Valley? So Moreno Valley, we are now the second largest city in Riverside County by population and by size. So what is our population? Moreno Valley, we're over 217,000 people, and we're growing at about a 3.44% annual growth rate. We're also the second largest city in Riverside County, right behind Riverside City. We're about 51.3 square miles. How big is 51.3 square miles? We're actually larger than the city of San Francisco, Boston, Ontario, or even Anaheim. That's how big Moreno Valley is in land size. As you know, the Inland Empire, we are growing. We're growing tremendously, and we are still considered one of the fastest growing regions in the United States. In Moreno Valley alone, we're home to a lot of Fortune 500 and international companies. Together with our small business community, we're over 4,500 business strong. We're still a fairly young city, so the median age for the city is about 33.1. We have been on a tremendous job growth. So in the last 9 years, we've created over 25,000 new jobs in the city alone. Transportation, we have the 60 and 215 freeway. We're also serviced by a Metrolink station. There is a airport, which is the March Inland Port Airport, which charter flights can be arranged to fly to share the same runway as the military base. Next slide. So this is a picture of the city. As I mentioned, we're about 51.3 square miles. We're a very diverse city. We have different areas for development. All the blue areas are industrial areas. So we have 3 large industrial areas. We also have the yellow area, which is called the World Logistics Center. That's a 40.6 million square feet industrial corporate business park, taking over 2,700 acres. As I mentioned, we're serviced by the 60 and 215. All the orange areas, those are our shopping districts. We have over 44 different shopping districts. And we also have some medical corridors. We have 2 large medical corridors. One is serviced by the Riverside University Health System, the county hospital system. The seat is in Moreno Valley, so is Kaiser Permanente. We do have a very large hospital with the Kaiser. And also on the very top left, you see that that color that is actually University of California, Riverside. So we're very close to your campus. Next slide. So this slide is showing some of the large companies, some of the companies that have come to Moreno Valley in the past 9 years. And most of these companies were not here before. Amazon, we do have 2 Amazon centers in the city. They are the largest job generator in the city, over 8,500 jobs. We have various industrial manufacturing in our city. We're Fisher Paykel, which is a New Zealand company. They make medical device. So also with Medline. We also have Procter & Gamble, which is a Fortune 500 company. We have their Western Regional Mixing Station in Moreno Valley. We have various logistics centers for large companies. Harbor Freight Tool, we actually have 4 different facilities for Harbor Freight Tool. So if you go to Harbor Freight Tool, everything you buy in Harbor Freight Tool, that's actually coming out of Moreno Valley. We also have manufacturers such as Sort of Mattress. You see those commercial with the sheep commercial. Those mattresses are actually made in Moreno Valley. We also are building cars in Moreno Valley. Hard to believe, but in Southern California, we actually have car manufacturing. Karma Automotive, those are actually built in Moreno Valley. Joining Karma last year, we have a new electric car company called Arrow. They are also in Moreno Valley. They're actually sharing the same facility with Karma, building electrical vehicles as well. We have large footprints for Skechers USA. Their Western Regional Headquarters is in Moreno Valley, along with Aldi Foods. The Western Regional Headquarters is also in Moreno Valley. Next slide. So these are just some of the large companies that have added footprints in Moreno Valley. As I mentioned, Harbor Freight Tool, they're taking over 3.1 million square feet of space in Moreno Valley in 4 different buildings. Skechers is going to be under 2 different facilities. The first one's 1.8 million, and the second one's 790,000 square feet that's under construction right now. So if you drive by the 60 freeway, you see the big building that is west of the Skechers. That is their second phase under construction. We also have Deckers Outdoor, the makers of UGG boots. They are in 2 large facilities in Moreno Valley, taking over 1.5 million square feet. As I mentioned, Amazon, we have 2 Amazon facilities in Moreno Valley, taking over 2 million square feet. And altogether, in 2021, over 3 million square feet of industrial space has been completed in Moreno Valley alone. Next slide. So as I mentioned, that big yellow on the map on the very right side of the city, that is the World Logistics Center. That is now the largest industrial corporate business park in California history, taking over 40.6 million square feet or 2,600 acres. Upon built out for the WLC, over 20,000 new jobs will be created. Next slide. As we attract a lot of the large companies coming to the city with a lot of the jobs, we're also seeing tremendous growth in the residential market. Right now, I have 2,500 single-family units approved, entitled, or under construction, and more than 3,300 multifamily units approved, entitled, or under construction. And why is this important? Because we continue to develop our housing products, so we have all different levels of housing for all price points. So if you're looking for apartment entry level, we have the capability. Also, if you're looking for luxury homes, we have that capability also, because we want to make sure that we have enough housing for our residents, but also for the people that are coming, moving out here, and also working in a lot of our companies. Altogether, our average household income in the past 7 years has increased from 63,000 to nearly 95,000 in Moreno Valley alone. And I know the average home price, it's 500,000, but it is so affordable compared to Los Angeles and Orange County. That's why you're seeing a lot of people moving out this way, because in Los Angeles County, the average home is about 800,000, and over in Orange County, it's about 900,000. So it is still affordable, comparatively speaking, for Southern California, and that's why we're seeing a lot of growth in our residential sector. Next slide. We're also growing on the medical sector. Medical sector has been a home base for Moreno Valley for Riverside University Health System, the county hospital system. There is a million square foot project that's been approved, and they recently opened up a 200,000 square foot medical office building, and we're looking for future expansion for the county hospital system. In addition, we are also a large footprint for Kaiser Permanente, which is the largest private hospital system in California. Last year, our city council approved a 1.25 million square feet master plan expansion for Kaiser, and they're under construction for phase 1. And hopefully in about 10 years, we could have both facility over 2 million square feet of new medical office space developed in Moreno Valley. In jobs alone, over 6,500 new jobs just in the healthcare sector alone in the past 9 years. Next slide. As the city grows, the city council recently approved what's called the general plan, and it's called General Plan 2040. This is the vision for the next 20 years on how the city would like to grow and where we would like to grow. This was adopted by the city council last year, and it includes 10 different elements. Some are required by state law. We're actually one of the very few cities that have approved a new general plan, which actually has new components that is required by state law. So we also have a climate action plan that is adopted as part of a general plan. And as you know, many cities are, the state is asking the cities to build a lot more housing. So we're actually one of the few cities that have submitted our RETA numbers. So we're required to build over 13,500 new homes pursuant to the state. And we have submitted that in our housing element to the state for certification. So we want to be able to build enough housing to support our growth. Next slide. Although we're a pretty big city, we also have different amenities that we offer our residents. We have over 546 acres of parklands. Parklands are very important to help with the vibrance of the community. We have now 32 parks. We have our own municipal golf course. We have a dog park. We have a equestrian center. And this next week, we're going to open our first community garden. Moreno Valley, we're known for a lot of trails. We have 25 multi-use trails, totaling over 15 miles. We also have our own community center. We have our own teen center, our own senior center. We're actually one of the very few cities in Riverside County that runs their own library system. So we have 3 different libraries. We also have our own animal shelter. And last year, we opened up our new amphitheater. And as I mentioned, we're going to have our 33 park opening up in 60 days. Next slide. And along with a lot of the parks, we also have a lot of programming for our residents. We have 25 annual special events that are very popular. We also work very closely with our sports leagues, youth leagues, and adult leagues, and provide various sport events for our residents. We also provide many different classes, over 80 classes that we provide every year at our various different facilities. There's a various entertainment option, the March Field Air Fest, very popular air fest that happens once every several years. And we always like to host that when that's available. We also have our own farmers market. We're actually the entrance to the Lake Perry State Recreational Area. We also have some bowling alleys. We also have our own symphony as well. So there's a little bit of something for everybody in Moreno Valley. Next slide. So this city, we try to be very, very innovative, and we have won many, many different awards. For Small Business Administration, we have won awards from the SBA for some of our small business programs. We work very closely with a lot of organization. We have won awards from Helen Putnam, which is one of the most prestigious awards given to cities for some of the different programmings. We actually run a very successful after-school program in conjunction with our 2 school districts. We have also won awards from Michael Bloomberg and Bloomberg Philanthropies, where we were a champion city a couple years ago. We are also very fiscally sound. We are still considered a very well-run city. And at one time, we were considered the third most fiscally responsible city in California. So various awards that we have received throughout the years in this city. Next slide. And we try to be a very innovative government. Any time when there's a potential business that are looking to come into this region, we will assemble what's called the strike team. Myself and members of my executive team would meet with potential CEOs to tell them why they should relocate to the Inland Empire, but more specifically in Moreno Valley. A lot of times when businesses are coming in, they want to get their business open as quick as possible. So we do have concierges to help them with the entitlement process to get them up and running quickly so that they could start employing people and also create jobs. We have also invested in innovation. We have an online permitting system. So during the whole pandemic, when a lot of the cities were shut down, we're able to continue to operate without any interruption because our system was online. So developers and businesses can submit the permits online and get their approvals online. Next slide. We also offer various different incentive programs. We are one of the few cities in Riverside County that have their own electric utilities. And for large employers, we do offer some electrical rate discounts if you are able to hire locally. The city also has different incentive programs for small businesses. We do give money to small businesses that would hire a graduate. So if you're a graduate, not just from Moreno Valley, but any place within Inland Empire, if you're hired locally, then you get some financial incentive from the city. We also want to encourage our business to hire veterans. So we also have a very robust veteran program. So any business that are hiring a veteran, we also pay the business to hire veterans as well. We're actually one of the very few cities that run their own employment resource center. Last year, we were designated as an American Job Center in California. And during the whole COVID, we're actually one of the very few job centers that remain open in California. So we actually had staff, we kept our doors open. There's a lot of people that needed help for unemployment or trying to get jobs or just needed some help. We kept our doors open because we felt that was very, very important to get the help that our residents or other people in the regions needed. So that is a very, very important key to our economic development initiative. The city, we're also part of a foreign trade zone. It's foreign trade zone number 244. We work very closely with the March JPA. And some of the companies that are here, they have been designated as a foreign trade zone, and they're able to get some benefits on tax benefits from the federal government as a foreign trade zone designation. And also some of the portion of the cities is part of a opportunity zone. And that was a federal program that was approved probably about 5 years ago. And there's different areas within California that are part of opportunity zone. So we have different areas in the city that's part of a opportunity zone. Next slide. And as I mentioned, we have close to 270,000 people in our city. It's over 105,000 skilled workforce in our city. And in our 20-mile trade area radius, there's over 1.1 million people that are able and work ready. So that is a strong incentive for a lot of large companies coming to this region, that they know that they are able to capture a very diverse and talented pool of potential workers to be able to tap into that pool of 1.1 million people. And we think working with our educational partner is very, very important. We have a relationship with your school. We think this is a very important relationship. We also have a relationship with Cal Baptist University. Cal Baptist University actually operates a satellite office in our job center. We also have a relationship with Moreno Valley College, the community college. We actually run different programs with them. They actually are able to teach some classes at our job center. And they're also able to come out and meet with some of our employers when our employers have some skills training needs for what they needed. And so the educational partnership is vital to our success. Next slide. As I mentioned, we do have a very, very successful job center. It is an award-winning job center. And so anybody could come in, they could, for businesses, we offer hiring assistance. We do a lot of job fairs. Our database is over 30,000 people. And so when a large company or small companies are looking to hire people, we're able to get their job requests out to 30,000 people. So we've been very successful in getting a lot of the companies the workforce that they need. Now, for job seekers, we also offer various different services. And so some of the residents could come in and we could help them with their resumes. We have various skills testings. You could get typing tests or computer tests at our job center. We have various workshops. Many of the workshops are online. We also have a live in-session workshop. We also have people that are there to help various people in different needs, in different aspects of their skills needs. So it is a full service job center. And as I mentioned, we have the colleges there as well. So if you want to increase your educational attainment, we're also able to have them partner up with some of the colleges that are represented at our job center. Next slide. So this concludes my presentation. I've been doing this for close to 25 years, working in local government. I think it's a fantastic job, and always looking for opportunities to talk to students, to get you guys interested in maybe pursuing a career in local government. So I think that's my presentation. I think we're opening up for questions.
Thank you so much, City Manager Lee, for that very insightful presentation and giving us all insight to the inner workings of Moreno Valley. At this time, we will now transition to our audience Q&A. As a quick reminder to our audience, please submit your questions via the Q&A box instead of via the chat function, and I will present to our guest speaker. Additionally, I would like to introduce my fellow classmates who are now joining me on camera, Uthman Alawi, Ryan Kalam, and Ebony Odier. They will join me in posing questions directly to the city manager throughout the next 30 minutes. The first question will be from an anonymous attendee. They say, "Thank you so much for your presentation. I am a local resident in Riverside City, but looking for real estate in Moreno Valley. How does Moreno Valley compare to Riverside City as far as the growth of my property value?"
Well, I think property value has been going up. Just the housing value alone, if you would have bought a house about 4 years ago, the average home was about $330,000. Today it's about $500,000. So you would have made a very decent profit just buying the residential homes. And that's why we're seeing a lot of investment coming to the city from large, medium, and small investors. So we still have a lot of land. So the city, if you look at the area of the city, we're only about 60% built out. So there are various opportunities for investors to come to either build housing or build a business or build a commercial shopping center. So there's different opportunities. So I'm seeing this as a continuous trend. As I mentioned, Southern California is growing, and the Inland Empire is probably one of the few regions that could still accommodate some of the growth. So I'm very, very bullish on the future growth in this region.
Thank you for giving us that comparison between the two cities. We have another audience question from Jenny Vo. They asked, "Do you predict that the workforce trend will be positively or negatively impacted in the upcoming year due to the global pandemic?"
I think it's going to be regional. I think for Southern California, I think we are going to be in a positive. I think Inland Empire is going to be very, very positive. We look at some of the trends as we compare to some of the other regions, San Diego, Los Angeles, Orange County. Inland Empire, we are actually probably the top 1-2 in California as in job creation. And the reason for that is because we have room to grow. The companies are coming out here and they're hiring people. And so I think Inland Empire is in a very, very strategic and critical time. I think we have a lot of great opportunities. And with a lot of jobs, a lot of companies coming out this way, I think it bodes well for people looking for work in Inland Empire.
Thank you. It's good to hear that we're heading in the right direction for job growth. Our next question will be from my fellow student, Ryan Kalam.
Hi, City Manager Mike Lee. I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us. It is a complete honor to have you here. Um, I just had a quick question. You mentioned in your presentation many of the innovations made in the pandemic, as well as things like incentives given to local businesses. Can you elaborate a little bit more on how you implement public policy every day in your work life?
Sure. So I think the pandemic taught us a lot. A lot of it took us all by surprise. I don't think any city was prepared, but it taught us uh, our preparation. I've been very, very lucky. When I became city manager, I have a fantastic team. I have a top-notch fire chief, top-notch police chief, and when we're dealing with the pandemic, we were able to really kind of uh, kind of gauge what might be happening. Most people don't realize this, but actually, Moreno Valley, we're actually the very first city in continental United States to actually experience COVID. And because the first flight that came out of China, when they're evacuating some of the embassy personnel out of China, they actually flew to Alaska, but the plane actually landed in Moreno Valley at the base. And those 300 or so American citizens were actually stationed at the base for about 3 weeks. And so during that time, we were running through emergency protocols. We were running through some pandemic protocols. We were actually working with the CDC and the base at that time. So it taught us all the things to be in preparation for COVID. And as this thing was evolving and it was not being able to be contained, we were able to really be prepared, much better than a lot of other cities. For example, we were out there buying up a lot of the masks, a lot of the necessary equipment to protect my firefighters and also my police personnel. And we're also able to share them with some of our hospitals when they're running short. So we're able to prepare to get our city prepared. And also we knew that potentially shutdown was going to happen. And so we quickly got some of our permitting systems online to make sure that's up and running. And so when we actually have to close the doors, we actually did not stop the business because a lot of the businesses can still process plans or permits or application through our online portal. So those are things that you prepare for, but when you actually have a crisis, then you really are able to react and see how your team can react to that. The incentive programs are always good. Those are really made for a lot of the small businesses. As you know, during the pandemic, a lot of our small businesses really hurt. So we have incentive programs to help them. We did receive a large chunk of federal money to help our small businesses. So we did have direct grants out to our small businesses just to help them. And they range from $5,000 to $7,500 grants for a small business during the pandemic so they could remain open. As I mentioned, we kept our job center open because a lot of people were looking for work or they needed help with EDD. Although we are not the state EDD, a lot of people were just getting very, very having a difficult time trying to access EDD. So at least we have computers there. We could help them log on. Sometimes we'll actually help them with the phone calls. And I think that was very, very critical to keep our businesses open and also keep our residents at least give them some support and help that they need.
Thank you for answering that question and kind of showing us what happens at a local level during a crisis like the pandemic. Our next question will be from my fellow classmate, Uthman Alawi.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, Mike. Really appreciate you presenting for everyone. My question kind of relates to a personal experience I had where I was doing an internship at my local city hall this past summer. And I know you mentioned some of the incentive programs throughout your presentation for getting both new businesses within the city of Moreno Valley. So I'm just wondering if you could outline a bit more the process that you guys take, like if there's any sort of like personal greetings you send out from the city or how you interact with perhaps some of the larger businesses and perhaps like not only the beginning of getting them into the city, but also how the city works to keep a continuing relationship with them as the years go by?
That's a great question. And I think it's all about relationships, especially dealing with businesses. So we're very proactive in going after businesses. So as I mentioned, when the CEO is looking at our city, I'm going to meet with them. I'm going to bring my executive team because he's probably bringing his executive team. And it shows more of a respect that, hey, if you're coming in all the way down for wherever you're coming from and driving all the way down here to be with me, I'm gonna take the time and meet with you and bring my executive team. And so that's always a sign of respect, sign of building a relationship. We're also very, very good about keeping our relationship with the brokerage community. We know all the properties that are for sale or for lease. So when a business come in and they're looking for a small business, a small space, 1,000 square feet or a large space, we kind of have a good understanding where they potentially could go. So we keep a very active relationship with our real estate community. And once they're in the city, we actually do a lot of different things. My deputy city manager was also formerly our small business development liaison. And so we actually meet with our small business on a regular basis. And she and myself would actually go out and meet with some of our major employers to make sure that they have everything that they need. If they're looking to expand, we know that they're looking to expand, so we can help them expand. So for example, Harbor Freight Tool, they started with one building. So every time we meet with Harbor Freight Tool, they say, hey, we need more space. I said, well, there's another building that's being under construction. Why don't you look at this building? And so now they're in 4 different buildings, over 3 million square feet. And that's as a result of understanding their needs, meeting with them, and having them giving this relationship. And they always have access to key members of my staff. So if they can't get a hold of me, some of the CEOs of the company, they at least could get a hold of my staff so that they have immediate needs and we could try to take care of them and try to address their issues quickly. So it's all about relationships. I think building relationships are critical to all levels of being successful in local government.
Thank you for that response and sharing your business experiences. Our next question is from the audience, from Betsy Montiel. They state, thank you for the great information. How is the city considering opportunities to diversify jobs for innovation in the city, such as regional tech hubs to promote high-skilled jobs and entrepreneurship?
I think it's a little bit of different things that we're pursuing. So for example, we really went after manufacturing very aggressively. So when Karma was looking, they were going to look at Nevada or Texas or going out of state. So we really pursued Karma. We actually worked very closely with the governor's Go Biz office. So the governor's office was able to provide them some state incentives so that they actually were able to land and build the cars in Moreno Valley. So they hired about 200 people. Those are high-tech jobs. Those are people building cars. There's robotics in there. There's engineers that are designing and fixing things. And so we are always looking for those opportunities. Any time in which we see manufacturing jobs or high-tech jobs, we will call the governor's Go Biz office, say, hey, we got a potential lead on a company that's going to be high-tech related or very innovative related or even green technology. So we work very closely with them, trying to make sure those companies stay in California, because there's a lot of states in which they love to pull companies out of California, and they do it all the time. And so we want to make sure that we utilize our partnership with the governor's office or even with the county and whoever needs to be on that table to make sure that company is going to relocate in California or make sure that stay in California. The other thing is, having a relationship with our educational partners. A lot of times in which companies, they have training needs. That's why we call our community college. I have a fantastic relationship with the president of our community college. And sometimes if I need her to come and meet with a company, she will come out and meet with the company. Now she's busy running a community college, but she will come out and meet with the company because I asked her to, because that was important. And also, maintaining relationship with our higher education, maintaining relationship with our UCs, and maintaining relationship with Cal Baptist University. And so a lot of those jobs are looking for potential engineers or business people in the business program. And so a lot of times I say, hey, you're looking for some type of new workers on your executive level, why don't you look at our UCs? They have a very talented pool of students coming out. Have been very impressed with the caliber of the students coming out of our UC system. As I mentioned earlier to you, my son is actually a alumni of a UC campus, and the UC does a fantastic job of training our students for future careers in various sectors. And so I think that relationship is very, very important. So really just listening to what the businesses are looking for and trying to find the solutions to really meet their needs.
Thank you for your response. We have another audience question from Greg Sanchez. They ask, as warehouses continue to move into the Inland Empire, how does Moreno Valley address environmental challenges that impact the health of citizens?
So with all projects are required to go through what's called CEQA process. And a lot of these large industrial development, they actually do a very good job of the CEQA analysis. The project gets a lot of scrutiny. I mean, we're talking about traffic, noise, pollution, all the different things that are needed. It goes through that analysis. And the developer has to do a very good job of trying to mitigate a lot of the potential impacts. And a lot of times it's about trade-offs. It's about trade-offs is that back in this last recession, the city was in a bad situation. I mean, we had unemployment. It was over 17.5% unemployment rate. It was one of the highest unemployment in the region. At 17.5%, that's 1 out of every 6 person that could work, they were unemployed. And so when people are not working, it really does impact the community. And so the leadership of the city made a conscientious effort to really try to promote economic development, also try to promote creating jobs. And so with creating a lot of jobs, we're able to bring the unemployment down. And as you can see right now with the Inland Empire, there's a lot of jobs out there in a lot of the private companies. And so, we went from, very high unemployment to now very low unemployment. And so that's as a result of some of the construction activity that has been happening. And I always say that just because you see a industrial doesn't mean it's all about logistics. We're able to get Karma. Karma is a manufacturer and they pay very high wages, but Karma is going to a typical industrial building. You can't tell if that's a manufacturing plant inside or if that's a logistics center inside. You really can't tell because the buildings really look pretty much the same. And so a lot of times you just want to have the opportunity to be able to pursue those companies, to come to your city, and you just want to make sure you have the product available. And a lot of these companies, for example, Aldi Foods it's a multinational company, and although they built a 800,000 square feet center in our city, 100,000 square feet of the 800,000 square feet is their corporate office. And so they have the corporate executives working out of the Aldi distribution center in Moreno Valley, which is also the Western Regional headquarters. So you're seeing a lot of combination of the large companies that are actually combining their corporate offices into their main industrial infrastructure. So you're seeing a lot of that happening right now.
Thank you for sharing that balance and how that's all incorporated in job growth. Our next question is from my classmate, Uthman.
Yeah, Mike, I just had a quick question about the military base. It's actually pretty close by to Moreno Valley. What is your relationship working as a city manager with the base over there?
Well, we always call the base Moreno Valley's base. So I have a fantastic relationship with the commander of the base, Colonel Haynes. They kind of change commanders probably every 2 to 3 years. And when the pandemic happened, it was actually Commander General Colburn. And so when that plane landed at the base, I mean, we were on the phone back and forth and just discussing what's happening. What does she need? There might be somebody that might need to go to the hospital. So we have that fantastic relationship. The base has been an integral part of Moreno Valley's growth. The base has been here over 100 years. It's actually, has a rich history in the Inland Empire. I mean, the base was here before pretty much everything else was. So we see that as an asset to the city. A lot of the people that work at the base actually live in Moreno Valley. And that's why we have a very robust veterans program. We like to call Moreno Valley really a center for our veterans. So that's why, as part of our American Job Center, we have a very robust veterans program running out of our American Job Center. So the base is a critical asset. A lot of people that are working at the base live in our city, and also the base, a lot of contractors, a lot of military equipment, a lot of potential manufacturing that's also being developed in the base. So we see that as a potential growth avenue with innovation and some of the high tech that's coming out in the military aspect.
Thank you. That's so great to hear that the city has a great relationship with the military base. We have another audience question that asks, through this time of COVID, how have you made local government more accessible to your residents who don't have access to technology?
Sure. I mean, I think none of us knew what Zoom was about 3 years ago, and then all of a sudden, everybody's on Zoom or Microsoft Team. I've been very blessed. This council, we actually invested in a lot of innovation before COVID. So when COVID hit, as I mentioned, we had one of the best online permitting systems. So a lot of businesses could come and submit applications online. We made it very business friendly so that they could process their permit or process their application online. We try to utilize technology as much as we can because a lot of the city halls were shut down during the peak of the pandemic. But we also were taking appointments and also a lot of ways to communicate with our residents. And so we try to make it as accessible as we can, but also trying to protect our employees because without the employees, I really can't run the city. So I want to make sure our employees were protected during the whole pandemic. And any opportunity that we get, we're always investing. Just last year, the city council also authorized close to $1 million of infrastructure expenditure. So we have upgraded some of our cybersecurity because as a local government, we're always potentially being attacked for a potential cybersecurity attack. So we have done a lot of things to try to protect that aspect also. So a lot of investment into technology, a lot of investment into infrastructure so that we could be a lot more efficient. We could be more responsible government to provide better service. And we've done that through a lot of the smart investment in technology to make things more efficient for us.
Thank you for that response. And it's great to hear the city is doing something to get the residents still involved. We have another audience question. They state, you mentioned opportunity zones. Are those areas zoned for light industrial or commercial flex zones?
Actually, most of them is actually commercial and residential. And so when we submit the opportunity zone, it has to be certain areas in which there are a little bit more blighted, and that was actually submitted to the state. The state approved it. So all these zones, I think, for example, the mall area, that's part of the opportunity zone. And so there is a state map that shows where all the opportunity zones are at. So that really just encourages developers that they could have some tax benefit for investing in the opportunity zone. And to answer the question, most of it's actually in commercial area and residential area because we see growth in those areas.
Great, thank you for that information. So you mentioned in your presentation the higher move and they hire local graduates. So how can students get involved or learn more about that?
So it's actually online. We have all of our incentive programs online. We also have a business website. It's actually, we have the city website, which is moval.org, and we actually have a business website, which is Moreno Valley business.org. And so on our business website, that's what we utilize to track a lot of our businesses to come in. So all the information that they will need is there. Both of our incentive programs are on the business website and also on the city website. And we actually do have an incentive page on the business website, and our incentive page is actually, we also look at what the California incentives are provided to the businesses. So it's a one-stop shop for business to come in. They can kind of see what the local incentives are, some of the county incentives, and also the state incentives. So we make it really easy for the businesses coming in. You can come to Moreno Valley web page, and you can access all the information that you want. And then if you're interested, you can contact our business concierge, and we could have a face-to-face meeting and try to get you in our city.
Thank you for giving us all that information. Our next question is from the audience, from Jenny. They ask, is Moreno Valley taking any steps to promote eco-friendly vehicles to help decline the rate of global warming?
Yes. As I mentioned, we actually approved the general plan, which is General Plan 2040. And we're actually one of the first city that have adopted general plan that actually has a climate action plan within our general plan. And we think that's very important. We are always investing in, we're actually one of the few cities we have our own electrical utility. So We offer electrical rate incentives for a lot of our businesses, but we're also promoting the charging stations. So right now, actually, state law requires that any new development construction that the developers have to actually put in the conduits for electrical vehicle charging. And then sooner or later down the line, then they have to put in the actual charging. So we know that's coming down the pipeline. We want people to buy electric cars because we actually have two electric car manufacturers in our city. So we see that as a need, and anything that we could do to enhance the adaptation for electric vehicles. So we're looking for ways to encourage that.
Thank you for your response. It's great to hear that the city is doing more things to help the environment. Our next question is also an audience question from Greg Sanchez. He says, I'm a veteran, a 40-year native of the Inland Empire and UCR student, and soon to work in local government. If I'm asked to sum up 3 key elements to the success of Moreno Valley, what would be some points you would like me to address?
I think this city, we're very diverse. I think our diversity is our strength. We have a very diverse population, and you can see the beauty in our diversity. So I think that's number one. Number two is opportunity. This city, we're about 51.3 square miles, but we still have a lot of room to grow. That's why there's a lot of opportunity for people just buying a home here, people that want to work here, or people that want to open a business here. Because as I mentioned, we have 4,500 businesses. And most of them, about 4,000 of them, are small businesses. So we're seeing a lot of entrepreneurs starting their own business. It could be a home-based business. We actually do encourage that. And so I think opportunity is another element. And then just the last thing is that we're very good about adapting. I always tell a lot of our staff, let's be ready to pivot. And so this city, the way we're structured, we are able to look at some of the trends that are coming down, and then we are able to structure the city to adapt to some of the potential trends that are coming down. So when, our city government, we're actually not that big. We're only about 350 people. And, we're trying to service 215,000 people and 4,500 businesses with 315 people. So we're quite small comparatively speaking to some of the other cities. And so because we're so small, we could actually pivot quickly. And so that's been a blessing for us. So I think those are the 3 important criteria that I think that has made us very, very successful.
Thank you for sharing all of Moreno Valley's strengths. So we have another audience question that asks, since many small businesses were hurt during the pandemic, what was done to help them get back on their feet?
So first of all, we kept our American Job Center open. We're actually probably the only one in Southern California that kept it open during the whole time during the pandemic. And so a lot of our small businesses were able to utilize our job center to help them with whatever they need and get some access. We have most of our businesses in our database. So we do a lot of the email blitzes. So when a lot of the state programs, a lot of the different things that are offered for the small businesses, they are very well aware of all the things that are happening. And also potentially some of the rules and regulations that were coming down. So it's providing the information quickly, because a lot of times during the whole pandemic, there was a lot of unknowns and people were scared, and we just want to give the information quickly, but also be accessible. So when they call, that's why Angel used to be our small business ombudsman. Her phone was ringing off the hook, or her cell phone was ringing off the hook, and a lot of the businesses were calling. They weren't sure what they needed to do, or they could open, they could close. We also receive a lot of donations. We actually receive a lot of donations of masks and also hand sanitizers from a lot of large companies. We have now given out close to 1 million units of hand sanitizers and masks. And we've been giving the masks at no cost and hand sanitizers out to our residents and our small businesses during the whole pandemic. And so because we're able to leverage our relationship with the big businesses, hey, we have hand sanitizers, you need something, we'll donate it to you. They donate to us, and we just become the conduit, and we say, hey, any small business you guys want, come pick them up. And any residents, come pick them up. And so I think it's just having that relationship and knowing what they need. As I mentioned, we have various grant programs. So when we receive some federal dollars, we're able to develop a small business grant program probably within 30 days. And that's sometimes unheard of in government. You went from having no small business grant program to deal with a pandemic, and in 30 days, I went to council, had it approved, and we developed a program, got it approved, and then we were providing them the funding, the money once they apply for the funds. And so we're able, because as I mentioned, we're very nimble, so we're able to pivot quickly and have fantastic staff. So we all knew that what was important, because this money getting out to them was so critical for them to survive. And a lot of the businesses that they say, hey, Mike, if we didn't get this money, the grant funding during some of the days in which we were really shut down, we were getting no income, we would not have survived. So those are some of the success stories that we had. But it's being available to our businesses and our residents during this whole pandemic. I think that was very, very helpful for us to get through this together.
Thank you for letting us know all that's being done to help small businesses during the current. Our next question will be from the audience. They ask, what does the population growth trend look like for the upcoming years?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, our population about 215. We're growing at about a 4% annual growth rate. And just as long as we're building more housing, that means more people are going to be moving in. And we built all types of housing. We built entry-level housing, we built luxury housing, we built apartments with studios, apartments with 2 to 3 bedrooms. So we kind of have all the different products available, because we know that as students, you probably have student housing, and we're also looking at student housing as well. And then as you get a job, if I want to have a 1-bedroom apartment, or then you have a family, maybe you want to start a starter home. So all the different components of residential development we're pursuing, so that, because there's all the different levels of housing that are needed. So we don't say no to housing. We don't believe in NIMBYism, which is not in my backyard, because we think housing is a very important component. That's why we're actually one of the few cities that have approved our general plan and actually have adopted arena numbers. A lot of cities are actually fighting the arena numbers. We actually used to know we think housing is very important. So we are the leadership with the mayor and city council. We said, no, let's adopt these arena numbers. We actually went above. We actually have 5% more than what's required, because we understand sometimes there might be some variations on different areas. So we actually went 5% above what our arena numbers required. And so some of the state agents said, wow, you guys actually went above your arena numbers. Yeah, because we think this is important, because we think housing is very, very important to the growth of the city.
Thank you for that response and sharing some future housing plans. My fellow student, Ryan Kalam, will be posing the final question.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you so much for your presentation. During it, you mentioned how educational relationships at institutions like UCR are vital to creating a strong workforce in Moreno Valley. So as an undergraduate student like myself, and I'm sure many undergraduate students who may be watching on YouTube or the Zoom, are there any potential opportunities for someone like myself as an undergraduate student at your office, potentially for a job opportunity or an internship?
So I always tell a lot of students, either you can volunteer or go in as an intern, because I started a very robust internship program when I was the economic development director, and we continue to do that. So now all the different departments are looking for interns. So we're always looking for interns. Actually, the problem I have is I don't have space because when you bring people on board, you got to give them a computer, you got to give them space. So I'm actually running out of space. And it's not just the college grads. We actually have what's called Summer City Hall. This is a program started by a mayor in which we're actually working with high school students. So these are last year of the high school students, in which they maybe give them a little bit of experience with local government, maybe. So maybe they might want to think about going to the School of Public Policy or planning programs. So maybe thinking of a career in local government. And so we actually want to start them early. So we actually have a robust a program with our high school students to maybe they might be interested in going to a 4-year college to get a degree in public policy, so that they could come back and work for local government. And so, and right now I'm always running out of space, because every time we have a program, it's about 30, 40 students in that program. And then we run different programs with our different school districts. So we're always doing that. But for for the college students, I always say, hey, get as much internship experience as you can. Sometimes it's a volunteer internship, but at least you get that down on paper. Sometimes you just have to work for free, but at least you get some experience, and keep your options open, because sometimes local government might not be expanding, but maybe it's the county government. I have a lot of people that started as an intern in local government in my city, but then they got a job in the county. They got a full-time position, but then they came back to the city because then we are opening up a different position. So be flexible, keep your options open. Your first job is not going to be your ultimate job. And so a lot of times you might have to move to different cities, move around a little bit, might have to get out of the region, but don't just stick with local government, also stick with the county government, sometimes state government. The state of California is hiring a ton of people. A lot of the time they're up in Sacramento, but they're also hiring some in the regional office. So keep your options open. And you can also look at the federal government. And also there's a lot of different quasi-government agencies in which they work very closely with cities or quasi-government, in which they're looking for people such as yourself with really good skill sets.
Thank you for sharing that great advice. As students, we really appreciate it. Unfortunately, this is the end of our allotted time for questions. Thank you all so much for joining us. Our deepest gratitude to the city manager, Mike Lee, for taking time out of a very busy schedule to join us today. Thank you so much again for your time and your work. Special thanks as well to the students in the planning committee for this event, Ryan Kalam and Ebony Odier. Thank you for your work. Audience members, we hope you'll join us at our next online segment for our City Manager series next Wednesday, when Paris City Manager Clara Miramontes joins us for a webinar. You can learn more about other events hosted by the UCR School of Public Policy like these by visiting our website, spp.ucr.edu. Additionally, you can also learn about our Master of Public Policy program, as well as our new combined BA/MPP program. Thank you all for being with us today. We look forward to seeing you at future SPP events soon. Until then, goodbye.